coming out to this Pomeroy sign dedication, which, if you don't know, is on one of our 30 beautiful Wegmans Passport Trails. I'm just going to say a few words. Special thank you to Glenn Wallace, and I understand it's always a joint effort. So Joan Wallace as well, for all the work that they've put in with this Pomeroy sign. And one of the things that's been interesting for me being president is seeing everybody on the Trailworks board find their niche and find what they really enjoy and what they're really good at. And for Glenn, it's local history. So the fact that he can combine that with his position on the Trailworks board, and we have great things like this, great events like this, I love it. So that's all I have to say. I'm going to turn this over to Mark.
I'm up, all right.
Who is going to, I believe, give some history.
Somebody looking at the screen, I think. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. I see some friends from even far away. Montezuma. Thank you, Cheryl. And if you don't know, we actually made Montezuma one of our 30 trails because they have such incredible history over there. So thank you for coming out today. She's been a really great supporter of the Erie Canal restoration projects. So it was about 1988. We were out here, and I was working on filming, and I went over to at the Hotchkiss building, and I was taking a video, and I couldn't believe how bad it was, a dump out there, full of garbage, couches, everything. So I said, this is disgusting. I heard Senator Moynihan was coming to town to give $4.5 million for the Erie Canal restoration. So we got together, and a friend of mine did a logo up for us, and I said, let's see if we could present this to Senator Moynihan, something will happen. Well, we went to that meeting and presented it to him, and about 5 people showed up. Stuart, were you there that day? Well, you came in shortly after. But 5 people came up, and they said, let's get an organization together. It took us about 2 years, but we got a 501c3, and we started Erie's Restoration Interest Everyone. And there's some former members here that are in the crowd. But one of our key projects was E56. We had all kinds of feasibility studies done, which we have the documentation. And I hope now, finally, Alan, right, we can get this flat restored. We had people coming up from Pennsylvania that were working on trying to restore this lock. So here's just some documentation. In fact, we've been doing so many newsletters from the past. Bethany's in our newsletter cleaning this lock up 30 years ago. How many times have we been out here cleaning this up, Bob? 5, 6 times? But it's not going to grow back now because of a guy named Corey Wilson who was supposed to be here. He was out in the rain last Friday working, but he forgot the time apparently. But the idea here is he's in his 40s, so I was going to pass the torch because the key to a historian is being young, because you have energy to do things. So that's good that you're young. And so Corey, this is our Penny Koss from, it's Dawn Jordan's aunt, and she's an artist from that. She did this design like 30 years ago for the lock here. We're gonna put some of this in the mural that we're designing. So a couple people I want to recognize is John Groves, and he was just so instrumental and wrote numerous articles, editorials pushing this lock here. And he's having some health issues now, and he's not able to join us. I tried like Dickens to get him here today because he's meant so much. Stuart knows him well, and a bunch of us do too. And also, I want to recognize a dear friend of mine, Richard Garrity and Glenn Salisbury. If you're familiar with Dick Garrity, wrote the book Canal Boatman, which is a great read about the Erie Canal. He went through both the enlargement and the barge canal. And Glenn Salisbury they were boyhood friends in like 1910. They went by this lock, came to this grocery store here and exchanged goods. And I got a chance, Stuart and I were there the day these two guys met. 2 hoagies on the canal, mule drivers or whatever you want to know. We can do semantics here, but they worked with the mules and they became so good friends. But for 70 years, I didn't get a chance to see each other. So we got them together on that November day, and Glenn wrote to me every birthday with a birthday card, sent me. He just said, save our memory. Don't let them forget that. So I've got all kinds of his letters and things that he sent extra money in, $50 extra instead of our membership. So I just here's a picture of that day. There's the two of them together here, right there. There's Richard and Glenn. And they're going to be in the next mural that we're working on, because I don't want, then I'll feel closure on that, because he won't be forgotten and his memory will be restored. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I really think the timing's right for this now. It sometimes gets frustrating when you can't bring historic projects together, but it's such unique history here. We found out recently there's a tumble gate, drop gate, again, whatever you want to call it. The Leach family had something to do with that. You know Leach Road in Lyons? That he was instrumental in this section, and maybe, who knows, you got to prove it yet, but who was responsible for developing that gate? That gate would have been over here on both sides of this slack here. You can still see the drop gate. You can still see the parts of the miter gate. So take time afterwards and please do that. So now it's time to turn this back over to Glenn, and I think we tried to get this one a few years ago, but you found more documentation to make it happen, so I appreciate that. Because literally the Pomeroy Foundation is a stickler on having everything, all your I's dotted, your T's crossed to make it happen. So thanks a lot, and this is just the beginning of good things. Thank you, Glenn.
Hello, thank you for coming. I want to thank a few people for helping. Louder?
Yes, way louder.
Oh my God. Maybe this will help.
Oh, now I have to, okay.
Okay.
Tell me beep.
I want to thank the people at the Wayne County Historian's Office for help and research, also the Museum of Wayne County History, and Lyons Highway Department for planting the sign here. Okay. Can you hear me, by the way?
A little louder.
Louder?
Shout it out.
That's your wife
If I
talking.
turn my hearing aids up, will that help?
Probably tells you to be quiet sometimes.
All right. A few years ago, Joan and I were on a trip to the Hudson Valley, and we normally drive and then we take bike rides. So we were biking in the Taconic Parkway. There's a rail trail, and we came by chance upon a historic site, and there was a Pomeroy sign which read, "Pomeroy homes built circa 1850 by Lemuel Pomeroy family, founders of the Copake Iron Works." And some of the ironworks were adjacent. They still remain. Lemuel is an ancestor to William G., who started the foundation that granted us a sign. So you expect to see a Pomeroy sign there, and we've been seeing more and more Pomeroy signs as we travel around. They're everywhere. They're started in New York State, but now they're even as far as Alaska. There's one, and I think that their mission is to annotate the United States in full. So just a few years ago, I was happy to become the point person for the Trailworks initiative to put signs along our trails. And this marker was a fairly new program that Pomeroy has, and it's called the Historic Transportation Canals Marker Grant Program. All right, so I'll a little different than most of the ones you see.
Oh my God.
Different colors, different design.
Nice.
As you can see, the signs still have a limited amount of information you can go on.
Yeah.
Very limited. Mark knows.
It's like a Twitter in 1930. 130 characters in capital letters by me.
And so I wanted to read the text. Some of the text that I got off of this sign was from a talk by a Nora Westcott Studer, who is the daughter of Horace Westcott. Okay, and so she had a talk in front of the Lions Civic Club in 1938. And so I'd like to read some of the things that she talked about which didn't make it onto the sign. The grocery was supplied primarily by 2 steamboats traveling between Syracuse and Rochester, one carrying freight and the other carrying beer and ale from Greenway's Brewery in Syracuse. There was a large circulating population on the canal, tramps at our door almost every day for food. We almost always fed them, but if we did not care to, always had the Poorhouse for an alibi. Many of the boats carried pets, and we never knew what we would have to board next: a crow, cat, dog, or bantam rooster and hen. The people would usually want them when the boat came back. I wonder what this place looked like when they had to take on everything that people didn't want. In canal stores, many things were kept which were not found in other stores. Some of which she mentions were found at the Poorhouse, and which were found at the Poorhouse grocery, are the following. There were wooden bridges for horses and mules, 800-foot tow lines, deck pails, and heavy-duty yellow oilcloth coats and hats. Her father also sold wood, sawdust for bedding, ice, and baled hay. And he produced some things for the grocery, including wooden items specific to the boats, like racks, pries, pikes, fenders, and lee boards. He also sold a good line of groceries. And he used to buy meats from Jacob Dauld of Buffalo. Pork was 5 cents a pound. Ham was 6 cents. Now I'd like to read a part of a letter from the executive director of Pomeroy Foundation. And she wrote, "Congratulations on your marker dedication ceremony. We wish we could be there with you today for the special occasion to commemorate this historic building once used as a canal store. At the Pomeroy Foundation, one of our main initiatives is to help people celebrate their community's history. Since 2006, when Bill Pomeroy launched the Foundation's first marker program, we have awarded more than 1,400 grants for roadside markers and plaques nationwide. Markers help to educate the public, encourage pride of place, and promote historic tourism. The marker you dedicate today is part of the Historic Transportation Canals Marker Grant Program. And the historic marker for the canal store that stands here today will remain as enduring testament of your community's history for generations to come. Congratulations, warm regards, Paula Miller, Executive Director at the Pomeroy Foundation." And now I'd like to...
Should we have the Allen? I think we should.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay.
Now, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, and like Nora Westcott Studer, they both spent their childhood here. And Lynn Allen has been helpful in our research to get this sign, and is very interested in promoting the canal and this historic site.
And she makes the best cookies in the world.
We're going to find
Hi everyone, I'm so glad everybody's here. I can only talk about my experience growing up here, not about the grocery itself. I only know the stories that I've been told over the years. And but my experience has been, the memories are fading away, and they shouldn't fade away. If you have people in your family that know anything about somebody in the family that worked on the canal years ago, get those tales now, because they're being long gone. What Bob Stopper is doing, bringing the canal into town, Mark, it's amazing what they've been doing, and the murals are opening up everybody's eyes about what the canal is and what it, maybe not what it could be anymore as far as commercial, but tourism. You know, there's been people in Lyons that have traveled this road how many years on 31, did not know that this house was here, did not know that there was a lock here. And now it was cleared out years ago. Mark tried to do it, but then it was up and down with being able to get the help to do it. Now there's a young man from Rome, New York, that has done a lot more than what he needed to, just because he loves the canal. And it's just his heart that's opening it up for everybody else to see. Okay, that's all I can say. Does anybody have any questions? Good.
Well, she will share the recipe for the molasses cookies, because she did with me.
They're
Thank.
pack-up boats.
I know. We'll pack it.
Pack-up boats.
Pack about molasses cookies.
Everybody's welcome to treats, please. Because if they're in the house,
yeah.
I will eat.
I'm the chairman of the Wayne Historians Organization and co-chair of the Bicentennial Committee. We've got some brochures if you want any of those, but one of the things I wanted to say, how many of you are aware of the Wayne Historians database? We have 1,200 sites listed, including this one, where you can get more information about our history. So the website for that, WayneHistorians.org, is listed on this rack card, so if you want one, I'll be happy to give you one, and then you can explore Wayne County's history. Thanks.
Thank you.
Interested in it.
That's right.
And,
If it wasn't for Edson's uncle, a lot of these pictures wouldn't be here.
But he loved pictures.
There
He
you.
was one of the first ones to use color film. When it first
really?
in the 30s, yeah, Protochrome. But he had a great interest in this, in history and the canal itself. And he even wrote an article for National Geographic, which did not get published. It came this close on the desk of somebody. They said, well, you've done that before.
Happened to me once. They do that.
So, but anyway, and he just loved to collect photographs, and I've shared a lot of them with Alan and different people. And one of the things that was in his collection was a picture of the bridge that came across here. And we, with Bob Stopper, last year I said, come on, Bob, let's go dig this out a little bit. And that's what we did. And so hopefully, Mark, with your trail works, you'll be able to.
I think Corey's already got the
Clear it
path. You can go over and see it now.
But yeah, that would be a nice addition to this whole.
Oh, absolutely.
This whole thing.
Because if
we
you-
have pictures of the bridge, and pictures that were taken from the bridge.
That's exactly. Yep.
So that's hopefully this whole little area can become a nice little park.
And what you want to tell them what that bridge was used for?
Well, it was to get from here over to the Poorhouse.
Well, part of it was
That was an offshoot of the old Lions Road,
right.
and it went over the canal and the towpath and came out right here and went over to the Poorhouse. That was one of the ways you could get to the Poorhouse.
Right. 31 wasn't here. This road was.
Yeah, that was the old trolley bit. But you could get to the Poorhouse by coming around on Nye Road that came over from Fink Road. It went all across the tracks and everything. But anyway, but this is how everybody went to the county poorhouse, and they used that bridge that went out onto and then went into Water Street and into Lyons.
Tell them a little bit of what that. Maybe they don't all know what the poorhouse was. The story behind it.
That was started by the county. It was just like what we have our county programs now. That was one of the I think most counties in New York State had something like that to take care of the indigent and the poor and everything, and it was the nursing home of the day kind of thing. But they had their own farm. The people who could work it, they'd grow their own food and everything. Much like the New York State School, if people remember that, they used to do that years ago. And then so it slowly, and the two buildings were there until maybe 5, 6, 10 years ago, something like that. The original buildings that they used, and of course they're torn down. There might even be some pictures here, but there's postcards that have that picture on them. So that was a great thing for Wayne County to take care of the indigent and the poor. Much like our jail that Rhea Hayes is now in charge of, that was built in the village to incorporate the people who are incarcerated there, to make them feel more not at home, but not to be so ostracized from society. They could still feel like they were part of the village, part of society, not just way out stuck off somewhere. And many of the people, we have letters from that wrote back and said how they enjoyed their stay there. They felt right at home, and of course, hopefully the life of crime was over with. I wouldn't have been one of those people. But anyway, but this is a great little event, and I don't know what else you have planned here, but I'm going to go look at what's been cleared out there. But you guys have been doing a wonderful job. Are you going to say something, Rhea?
You should, because you're the new. Come on.
Just come on up here and say hello. This is, if anybody doesn't know who this young lady is, this is our new executive director of the Wayne County Historical Society, Rhea Hayes, and that's your dad right there. Very proud of her. We're all proud of her, and we're so happy to find her. First of all, I'm glad she came out of the big city to accommodate us. But we're happy to have her.
Happy to be here.
So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Refreshments are available.
Plenty of food here. Take some cookies, walk around in the back, go down by the abutment.